Everyone, I think everyone's here, so we'll get going. I appreciate everybody coming out. It looks like we have sunshine for the first time in like 11 days, so
you're welcome.
Hopefully we won't keep you away from it too long. My name is Jeff Lamro. I'm from the district. Again, I appreciate you all coming out for the informational session. With us today, we have three representatives from Humana: Rain, Jessica, and Cindy. A ProFlex representative, named Ryan, and we have Ed Vaughn from E&B Insurance. So before I turn over to Ed and these ladies, just a quick kind of recap on how we got here. We've been looking at, obviously, health insurance is a big cost in the district. We've been looking at ways to try to save money. Through our research, the Medicare Advantage option came up with some big savings. So obviously, from my perspective, I was like, well, to get that kind of savings, we can't just change your benefits. So we really tried to spend a lot of this summer doing our due diligence. We met with representatives from Humana and Aetna. Excellus Blue Cross Blue Shield also offers Medicare Advantage plan, but their numbers were nowhere near competitive as Aetna and Humana's were. We whittled it down to the process to get to Humana. And what you have in front of you, and some of you were here in 2011 when we moved our retirees, the Medicare retirees, from the Excellus plan to the current Hartford plan that everybody's under. We did a side-by-side comparison for everybody to see what we were looking at in terms of benefit levels. So what you have in front of you is something from the district in conjunction with Ed Vaughn's office to really lay out, here's what the current Hartford plan is, and here's what the Humana option that we're offering is. And I do want to remind everyone, this is an option. We are not requiring anybody to make this switch. We do think the benefits are the same, and then just like we said with the Hartford, in some cases the benefits are better. There's Silver Sneakers program, there's other benefits that side by side. Oh, sure.
You need a packet? You don't have
you want a packet or do you want the side-by-side? Connie, you got one? She'll come over with that for you. Does everybody have one of the two-page handouts that we just distributed? And we can make more copies for you. Okay. So again, we went through this whole process. We vetted out Humana, we vetted out Aetna. We whittled down to what we thought Humana had the best option to give you as retirees. We met with representatives from New York State United Teachers. I believe Joe Beasley's here. And I don't know if Kate Andriotta's here. We have two NYSET reps that we deal with. We brought them in, sat down, walked through the side-by-sides and said, here's what we're looking at. Here's how we're looking to lay this out as an option, including, again, and that's the ProFlex side, the $500 HRA card that would come with in conjunction from the district with the Humana plan. After we met with the NYSET reps, we sat down with the presidents of all the bargaining associations or anyone from that bargaining unit that wanted to sit down to go through with them what the side-by-sides look like, what we were looking to do. And then from that point in time, we did some phone conferences, put the letters and the packets together that you guys received in the mail, and brought you guys in. So our goal from the district is to make sure that if this is a viable option going through and you want to take it, our hope is people taking it give us some good feedback from the district side. You know, and I would say this, Humana tells us one thing, our goal is to verify what they tell us is true. We don't want to put a plan in your hands that's not going to work for you, and it's not going to work from what you were promised for as a retiree. So that's not our goal in this. Our goal is to make sure that this option is viable, that it works for everybody, and then going forward we can look at our options from the district side, Hartford, Humana, etc. The Humana plan currently is offered at Johnson City School District. I think they're going in their third year that they've had this as their Medicare plan. And I know Humana was with Broome County for a 2 or 3 year period of time. They lost out on the rate or on the renewal side. I believe the county now has Aetna, but the county also has a Medicare Advantage plan in place there too. So I don't think it's anything that's new to this area, but we're hoping for is that the questions you have are hopefully answered within the presentation that they give out. And if they're not, we'll get you that information. So again, with that being said, we'll turn it over to Ed Vaughn from E&B Insurance. He'll give you a little quick backdrop. But again, real quick, did everybody get that 2-page front-back handout? Okay. Ed?
Thank you, Jeff. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. As Jeff said, our goal today really is just to try to educate everybody. This is an optional or an option for you, and we tried to bring as much information that we possibly can to help you make an educated decision on what's a better plan for you. And the ladies from Humana are going to go right down through detail all their different programs. Some things that you should know that aren't going to change We were the consultants to the district when we put the Hartford plan in years ago. And I know a lot of people are already familiar with using our call center. We have our call center. I brought some extra cards here if anybody doesn't have this little card. So in the event that you have a question about your benefits, whether it be Hartford or Humana, you can call our office. The ladies are there from 8 to 5 o'clock, Monday through Friday. You also can call Humana as well. There's nothing wrong with that. Just that we like to pay close attention to our retirees because, as Jeff said, we want to make sure that everybody's happy, okay? And as Jeff said, this is an optional program. And we also, as we did this, went through this process, we put together a little FAQ, a frequently asked questions page that I brought here that were just some general questions that we had between the district and myself and Joe and Kate, just some general questions about how the process would work. Because the deal is, we have this program that's going to be available to you, okay? And we're also, the district's going to offer what's called a $500 HRA, which stands for Health Reimbursement Account. So that $500 that you get is additional monies that you can use towards qualified expenses that may not be covered, whether it be vision, dental, medical expenses. And Brian Burkhart from ProFlex is going to go over how that works. So you've got that program available. The other thing is we want to encourage people to try the Humana program. So we're asking if it works for you to go into the program. But at the end of 6 months, if for whatever reason it didn't work for you, you can go back to Hartford. So we're not forcing people to make a decision to go to Humana and then make them stay there forever. So I just want to make sure that it's very clear. It is an option. The district's trying to be very flexible with everybody here because the important thing is that you're happy with the program that you have. Okay? So if you decide to go to Humana at the end of 6 months, if you don't like it for whatever reason, then you can go back to the Hartford place. Okay? That's probably the most important thing. But like I said, the goal today is I'm going to have the ladies go down through the presentation. They're going to go down through how the program works. We're going to answer all your questions. We're here all day. We have another meeting at 2 o'clock as well, so we'll make sure that everybody's questions get answered. And hopefully the information we have will answer all the questions you already have in your head. So, yes, sir.
What would make someone unhappy after 6 months? Do you have any statistics?
We have none. Like I said, we're trying to be...
That's a great question. You know, I was the person that did the presentations back in 2011 when we went to the Hartford. Anybody there at those meetings? Right? I can remember everybody's, oh my God, everybody was very nervous, right? Because it's a change. We understand. It's a difference. So we told people this plan is going to work a certain way. And what happened? It worked exactly the way that we said it did, and people are happy. So it's hard to answer your question, sir, because Humana is a really great company. They're one of the largest companies in the country. They've got a great product. You probably see them on the commercials all the time. So what makes somebody unhappy? Honestly, I don't know. You know, maybe some doctor treated them wrong, or something happened, or some glitch in the system. It could be a couple things, but for right now, we really don't have any statistics on why somebody would switch. We think this is a really good program and a great option. And so I think that by the end of the day, or our goal is by the end of this meeting, that people have enough information to make a decision. You've got the side-by-side there, which compares the Hartford program to the Humana program, and then we'll go down through and answer all your questions. But I think it's a great option for people.
And one more thing. Too, if people aren't able to attend that you know and they're local or not in the area, we are videotaping this whole presentation. You see the camera back there. We will have a link on the school website. So we have let people know that have called us and reached out to talk to us that if you can't make it, I've got calls from people in North Carolina, Florida, West Coast. We are going to videotape. We are going to put this on the school website. So if you know people that couldn't attend today, they were sick, they're out of town, please let them know. Because I know you talked to a lot of your friends and people that are local through social media, through the phone, through contact. So please let them know that we did videotape this. We'll get this link out there hopefully between now and the 2 o'clock presentation. And we can get the information out to other people. So thank you.
So with that said, like I said, we're going to have Humana go first, and then ProFlex second. The Humana stuff's over here. The ProFlex information's over here. And Ryan will go through that after Humana does their presentation. So right now, I'm going to turn over to a lady that you'll never forget this name. Her name is Rain Buck from Humana. So thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm really glad you all came out on this really cold day. And so many of you, I think.
This is nice weather for us.
It's beautiful. I like the sun. I agree. I'm actually working and spent a lot of time in New York, but right now I live in Cincinnati, so nice to be on the East Coast. Just to give you a little background on me, I have been with Humana for over 12 years, and I've actually been in this role for 8 years now. I only handle group Medicare accounts, and that's a very important distinction because you are on what the plan I'm going to tell you about is a group plan. It is not a street plan. And I'll explain that a little bit more, but basically this plan was designed specifically for you. It's to match very closely to the Hartford plan. So it's not the plans that you'll actually see on TV. This is a special group plan, but it is a Medicare Advantage plan. And we'll talk a little bit about what that is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through first what is Medicare, what is the Medicare Advantage plan. Then we're going to talk about your specific plan, the plan that's in your packets. We're going to talk about enrollment and what has to happen to become enrolled. And then we're going to talk about a lot of the extra services that are extras available in the Humana plan. So we'll go through all 4 of those things. And what I'd like to do is save questions to the end, because I find that a lot of your questions will be answered throughout the presentation, but we will open it up and allow for a lot of time for questions. And then we're going to be here for quite a while after. We'll be here all day, actually. So if anybody has very individualized kind of questions, specific to doctors or treatments that you're on or prescriptions, we will be here to answer those for you too. So the first part is what is Medicare. So most of you know that there's Medicare Part A, which most of you qualify for by working or spouse working. That covers the hospital portion. Then there's Medicare Part B, which you pay for out of your Social Security check that usually automatically comes out of your checks. That will continue to happen. So this plan that you're going to be shown is a Medicare Advantage plan. It is still a Medicare plan. The main difference is that Part B premium that you're paying, Medicare will actually pay to Humana on your behalf for the plan. So it's still a Medicare plan. We're just administering the Medicare portion for the government. So that's a very important distinction. So right now what you have is you have your Part A and your Part B. You take that red, white, and blue card to your doctor. They submit your claims to that first, and then it goes to your Hartford plan, which is a Medicare supplement. So that's your arrangement now, and you have a couple different cards that you show your doctor or the hospital. The Medicare Advantage plan, again, that we are the Medicare plan. We administer it for the government. We have to do everything that's on a Medicare plan, and then we can add extra benefits. So it's all wrapped up in one. You're going to have one card. So you're going to actually take that red, white, and blue card and put it away. We don't want you to destroy it. Just put it away in your drawer and don't show it to the doctors or hospital. You'll just use the Humana plan card for both your Part A, your Part B, your supplement, and your prescription all in one. So it's much simpler. The doctors like it because they just submit to one place. This plan is also what's called a PPO plan. That can be confusing because probably a lot of you had PPO plans when you were actively working. And usually what a PPO plan meant was if you go in network, you have one level of benefits, and if you go out of network, you have a lesser level of benefits. But again, this plan is not a street plan. This is a plan especially for your group. The benefits are the same whether you go to Humana doctor or if you go out of network. This plan is available everywhere in the United States, so it can be used anywhere that you go within the country. So that is a very big distinction. So again, the plans that you're seeing on TV that are Humana plans, those are true PPO or HMO plans with smaller networks. This is any doctor in the United States that accepts Medicare. This plan will work for them because those doctors have agreed to accept the Medicare allowable, and our plan will pay that. So they can't balance bill you if they accept Medicare. The other thing that we ask the doctors is that they bill Humana for you so you don't have to pay up front. And that's where it's really big in this area because we've been, and actually I handle the Johnson City plan, and I worked with Broome. We're still very close to them. They loved our plan. It was just a rate thing, like they said. They all have used it, so the doctors in this area are familiar with the Humana plan. You just need to let them know that it is a plan for Maine-Endwell. It's a group plan. It's not a street plan. So sometimes when these plans are rolled out, you might go to your doctor and say, hey, I'm going to have Humana, and they're going to think that you're on a street plan. So you just need to tell them, that no, this is the group plan. And if that doctor still questions it, that's when you need to contact Humana. You can either do it through Ed's office or call Humana directly. And we will actually reach out to that provider and tell them about the plan. There's also the flyer that's in your packet, or it's up here. You can take that to your doctor to explain that this is a group Medicare Advantage plan.
And Ray, real quick, that was probably the biggest hiccup I think we had when we switched to the Hartford, was when people went to their regular doctor, primary doctor, specialist, and said, oh, I've got a new plan, it's the Hartford plan. And we heard a lot, well, we don't take the Hartford. It's not an individual plan, it's a group plan through the school. So that was really just a lot of communication stuff at the very beginning. But I would say after 2 months of the switch from Excellus to the Hartford, we weren't getting those calls any longer. Now, not that Ed may have gotten some at the call center, but again, a lot of it's just the communication, because some of the calls I've gotten are people saying, well, I'm in Florida, I asked my doctor, and they said they don't take Humana. It's not a Humana plan. This is a Medicare plan, simply approved by the federal government, administered by Humana. So it's not a Humana plan, it's a Medicare plan. So if you're, again, reiterating, if the provider takes Medicare, accepts Medicare, this is a Medicare plan, plain and simple. There's no two ways about it.
So a lot of times it's just us calling them. In fact, that Florida example, we called them, they did accept our plan. Unfortunately, it doesn't always get to everybody at the front desk, so sometimes we have to call a couple times and make sure everybody in the office is aware of it. But it's much easier for them once they file it. Your benefits are very rich on this plan, so they're going to get paid very quickly, and most of it's going to be covered at 100%. So again, once we educate them of that, it should be no problem with them accepting the plan. Again, like I said, this is available throughout the country, and there is also worldwide coverage for emergencies. So if you do go outside of the country, there is up to $25,000 of coverage. A lot of countries, I had this happen, I was in Mexico. They made me pay up front, but then it was reimbursed later. So there is some coverage for that. So now this is the actual plan summary. You have much more detail in your packets, but we're going to go over some of the main highlights. On the deductible, you do not have a deductible, so there's no upfront deductible. The one thing that usually confuses people is your plan, as you can see, everything's zero on here. So there's really nothing out of your pocket. But then why is there this $1,000 out of pocket? Medicare requires us to have a maximum on your medical benefits, so the most you could pay in a year. So we have to have that $1,000 in there, but you're not going to get to that because you don't have to pay anything out of your pocket. So don't let that part scare you. That's just a protection Medicare requires us to pay. So basically, if you go outpatient to a hospital for any kind of surgery, lab work, anything at all, you pay zero. Inpatient hospital, the same thing. I mean, you can't get benefits any better than this. So this is one of the richest plans that I have on my book of business. Same thing, primary care specialist, you don't pay anything. Even durable medical equipment, because a lot of times durable medical you have to pay a percentage, but you don't pay anything in that. Emergency room and urgent care, same thing. Everything is zero. So very, very rich benefits. These are the pharmacy benefits. There are 4 tiers on our pharmacy plan. Most generics are in tier 1, and you pay zero. Zero for either 30-day or 90-day supply. You pay nothing, which is a really good benefit. So either, and just so you know, for our pharmacy, it's Humana's pharmacy plan. Our network has 65,000 pharmacies. All the major chains are in our pharmacy network. So, and a lot of mom and pops. So if you're going to any of the major chains, you're going to have no problem. If you're going to a local pharmacy, you're going to Walgreens or CVS, you don't have to do anything other than show them your card, and then we will, starting January 1, then we would handle your benefits at the pharmacy. if you're doing mail order, you will have to call your doctor and have it switched to Humana's mail order program. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Tier 2, which our preferred brand, is a $10 copay. Tier 3 is $25, and even your specialty, really expensive drugs are $25. And the same for your 90 days. So you actually save, if you go through our mail order, you will save 2 months of copayments on the higher levels. That just gives you an idea on the right of some of the drugs that fall in those different tiers. You also have a list that came in your packet. That is a very short version of our drug list. So again, this is a Medicare plan. We have to cover all the drugs in the different categories of drugs that Medicare requires. If you have a specific drug that you couldn't find, you can either call the number that's in the packet, or if you have just a few of them, we can look some of those up while you're here. So as I talked about, the mail order program is through Humana Pharmacy. You will need to have your doctor send a 90-day prescription to Humana. You probably, it'll be near the very end of the year because you're going to be filling out applications. We'll talk about that in a minute. Once you're in our system and get your letter saying you're accepted, you can call and set up the mail order. You'll have to set up with a credit card, and then you can have your doctor call in the prescriptions to Humana. So I was just kind of alluding to this. So how to enroll. So you're going to fill out a paper application. We have some extra ones here. Some of you, unfortunately, when our first packet went out, those were not in the packets. So we sent a second packet out. So if you're wondering why there's a second packet went out, that is why. They're exactly the same, other than there's an enrollment form in those packets. So we apologize for that error. If you did not get that, again, we have some here, and we can also help you fill those out here after the meeting if you would like. And we do ask that you have them back in by Monday, I believe, or Tuesday.
Monday, Tuesday, to enroll for January.
They need to be in here by Monday or Tuesday to get on for a January 1 effective date. So it actually is going to go to Margaret. Can they drop them off here?
Yeah, you can drop them off here. And don't forget, we have open enrollment. We don't. It's not just one time of the year that you can enroll this. You can enroll for February 1st, March 1st. So there's no, if you can't make this deadline for Monday or Tuesday, and you want to still shoot for February, that's no problem. There's not, we have open enrollment here. But through Medicare, you can't enroll in the middle of the month. It has to be the first of the month. So that's all.
So what to expect after your enrollment. So the first thing that will happen is you'll get a letter that'll actually have your ID number at the top. It's not your Social Security number, but it's a separate Humana ID. That'll be on that letter. It'll say you're accepted, so you could actually take that to your provider at that time, because you probably won't have your ID card since we're starting a little on the late side. Then the next thing you'll get is that Humana ID card, probably within a couple weeks of getting that letter. And then you'll also get a Medicare survey. So these types of plans like to send out these surveys, find out as much about you as they can up front. It's to help get you enrolled in a lot of the great extra programs that we have. If you have a number of conditions, we can get you in case management, get you connected with a nurse, or all different types of things. So this will come to you to be filled out. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But it is a great way for us to find out about you to help get you enrolled in those kinds of things. And then at the end of January, you're going to get our lovely book. It's 150 pages. It's really thick. It goes through every single benefit you can think of, and then how do you appeal, and all the different things will come to you. You'll also get a number of extra things, probably, again, end of January, beginning of February, about a lot of other extra services. Medicare does not allow us to talk about some of those up front, but there are a lot of great extra benefits that will come to you in February.
Maureen, can you talk about the Silver Sneaker program a little bit?
That's one of the slides.
One of your slides?
Yeah. One of the things we always like to mention is a lot of people on these programs might have a number of different specialists that they see. I helping my father out right now, and that was the case. So he wasn't getting to a primary care physician. We don't care who the primary care doctor is that you see, because again, you can go in or out of network. We just really want to encourage you to see that primary care doctor, because what happens a lot of times if you're seeing a lot of different specialists, they really aren't knowing what the other specialist is doing, what drugs you're on, what visits you've had, what tests you've had. And I really found, for my dad at least, having that primary care doctor, he was kind of the quarterback of all of it. So he would keep track and make sure everybody knew what was happening. So we just really encourage you to have a primary care doctor. If you don't have one, ask some of the other people in the room who they like. Or you can call Humana and ask who's in our network. But again, it doesn't have to be in our network. Physician finder. So if you do want to look for a provider, you can either call the number that's in your packets, or you can go onto Humana.com, and at the bottom it says look up providers. Go in and look up the Medicare plan, and you can find a doctor. But again, I just want to stress to everyone, you don't have to stay in the Humana network. That's just kind of a place to start to look up what doctors might be available that are familiar with our plan, but again, in this area, most doctors are. Now we're going to talk about a lot of those extra services, and we'll go through these kind of in detail, so I'm going to switch to that. So here's the Silver Sneakers. That's what Ed was just talking about. So Silver Sneakers is a really great program where you maybe already belong to the Y in Vernon County, and you're paying on a monthly basis. They are part of the Silver Sneakers program, and now your membership would be free for any of the time that you're on Humana. All you have to do is show your Humana card, and there is a flyer up here that helps you. You can look up different gyms. The nice thing, too, is you can belong to as many gyms in the Silver Sneakers network as you like. So if one gym has a pool and you like that one, and another one has a class you like, or if you travel to Florida and you want to go to a gym down there, you can go to any gym in that in the program. And I think there's
7 in this area.
I know we looked up and we had, yeah, so we can look them up for you if you need to, or you can call the number that's on the flyer up here. I heard the number that I think there's 12,000 gyms in the country. They said that's almost as many as there are McDonald's. So there's quite a few gyms that you can choose from. Go 365 is another program that Humana has that really is a great program because it's really for anyone, and you don't have to be joining the gym. If you do join the gym, you actually get credit in Go 365, and you can get points for each day that you go, and it basically, all the points that you're going to add up go towards getting gift cards, and you can get up to 200. But if you're not going to the gym, you can still get points for going and having your annual wellness checkup, for going and having your flu shot. So for lots of different things that you're doing automatically, you can get these points, and throughout the year you can accumulate. It's Amazon cards, there's gas cards, there's I think Target and Macy's is in there. I do it myself by adding up the steps I take and use those at Christmas time to buy things for people. So it really is a nice program. The only thing you have to remember is you have to use them by the end of the year or they go away for the next year. So each year you want to cash those in. Just call up and make sure you sign up for Go 365, and it's a really good program that's free to you.
Rain, so Sophia, just within the 5-mile radius, here's a list. Positive Life Force Studios on Wayne Street in Endwell, Boys and Girls Club of Western Groom, Groom County YMCA Western Branch, which is the one in Johnson City, American Family Fitness, American Woman Fitness on the Parkway, Anytime Fitness in Vestal, Southern Tier Physical Therapy, and the Jewish Community Center of Hampton. So those are the 7 within a 5-mile radius of here that participate in Silver Sneakers. And I know most of you are local, so.
So as another extra benefit, and I actually just used this on last Friday. You can download onto a phone if you have a smartphone, or you can make a phone call, and there is a brochure, this folder brochure up here. You can call a doctor, and either, like I said, it could be a video call, or just a phone call. And if you're too sick with the flu or a cold and don't want to leave the house, you can talk to a doctor live. I was a little skeptical myself. I actually have arthritis, and it flared up last week, and the doctor I had, they couldn't see me till next February, and one was May, which didn't really help me a whole lot. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do because I knew I was traveling, and then I remembered I had this benefit, so I called them. It was the most amazing experience I've ever had. It was a wonderful woman doctor. I could show her a picture of what my knee looked like. She sent me for blood work around the corner, and then I had my prescription within an hour. So I was able to get all that done before I actually went on my trip. So I think it works. It wouldn't be what I want to do for everything, but if you're traveling and you have something and you want to get checked out, it basically would be like a copay, so it's not going to cost you anything to talk to this doctor because of what your benefits are. So really great benefit. And then the other thing they now have, and this just was new recently, is you can also talk to a counselor. So if you're having a lot of stress going on in your family, somebody's ill, you need to talk to someone, you can actually set up to talk to a counselor by phone also. If you don't want to leave your house, you can do it in the privacy of your own home to talk to a counselor. So, and they are, all of these are board certified doctors. The doctor I talked to the other day was somebody who I think was just retiring, and this is what she was doing in retirement. She worked for the Cleveland Clinic and had amazing credentials. So I think it's just a great way that a lot of doctors may be retiring early, and then this is what they're doing later in life. Humana, once you have your ID card, you can sign up for Humana, which is basically having your own portal that'll only have your benefits on it. You can look up doctors, you can look up your claims, you can look up your prescriptions, any letters that we send to you. If you've misplaced something that we've sent you, it'll be out there in our system. So it's just a great place to get a lot of information. And, if you get a bill from the doctor and you can't remember, you shouldn't know anything. If it says you owe something, you want to look and see if we have the claim in our system. Maybe they didn't submit it right. It's just a great way to track different things. The other thing that I like it for is, you can find out through this, and then we'll also I'll show you a smart summary in a few minutes. You can track the different kinds of care you have and the different prescriptions you're on if you're going to see a new doctor. If you want to know, it's hard to take all those pill bottles with you to the doctor, but you can get your information here or from the smart summary that I'll show you in a minute. Humana First Nurse Line, this is 24/7. It's a nurse that's available to answer any questions. Maybe you were diagnosed with a new condition and you want to know a little bit more about it. You can call and talk to these nurses. They also are there if it's not for anything that's obviously an emergency, but if you wake up in the middle of the night with a rash and you're not sure what it is, you can call and talk to the nurse and they can help you determine maybe where the best place of care is. So again, just a great place to get information. Humana Well Dine. This is a really nice extra benefit. If unfortunately you are hospitalized, anytime that you're hospitalized either in the hospital or skilled nursing facility, you're eligible to get 10 frozen meals sent to your home. So a lot of times there'll actually be social workers affiliated with certain hospitals, so before you're discharged, they'll talk to you, find out where, sometimes you don't go home to your own home, maybe you go to a family member's home, they'll find out where to send these meals. If for some reason they don't get you before you leave and you haven't gotten them, just call our number and we will ship out those 10 meals for you. Just most people when they're in the hospital, they don't want to worry about cooking when they get home. So I've heard they're very good. I haven't tried them, but they are really convenient. People really like getting them after they've been hospitalized. My directives. This is just something available to you if you do not have a living will. A lot of people, they get to the hospital, the hospitals now want to know what your plans are. If you're unfortunately can't make those decisions, it's really good to have all this done beforehand. This takes about 45 minutes to walk through, putting down, exactly how you want to be treated in certain situations if you were, unfortunately, if you were out unconscious or anything like that. So it's to help the doctors and hospitals and your family members know what your wishes are. So it's just a great thing to do up front. You can do it at any time. You can actually have it sent to certain hospitals, up to 5 hospitals in the area, and then have copies for you and your family. There are a lot of extra benefits for people. I said in the beginning, we like to try to find out what conditions you have, those types of things, because we can help get you the services that you need. So this one is Humana at Home, where we can actually send doctors or nurses to your home to check out your situation. A lot of times we're just going in to evaluate, is the home safe for this member? A lot of times there can be throw rugs on the ground that really are not safe. They're for, people can slip and fall in those situations. We've helped people get services to people to come in and build ramps for certain homes. So you might get a phone call, depending on what your claims are, and they might say they'd like to come out to your home. It is a legitimate service. You can call them back if you want to verify that that's who's really calling you, so people don't like that initial, they want to come into my home. We always say have somebody there with you just to make you feel comfortable. But they do some really great services when they come out to your house. They find a lot of things that they can help with when they do that. So that's what that's about if you do get that phone call. There's all kinds of nurses that are available depending on the different conditions you have. Transplant management. So again, if you get that call, a lot of people are hesitant when they first get somebody wanting to work with them as nurses. But what I find is once people have assigned nurses, they usually same one stays with you for the length of time that you're needing the care, and they become actually really close friends, basically, and that becomes a really great relationship. They can call your doctors for you. They can check on your prescriptions, make sure everything is working well between different doctors. So again, if they reach out to you and ask if you want to join one of these programs, they're very positive. I know in the old days when first case management came out, a lot of people didn't like those plans. I find for this population, people love having this relationship. So I highly recommend that you work with them if they offer that type of service. Smart summary, this is what I was talking about earlier. So any month that you have a claim, you will get a smart summary in the mail. This is a great piece of information. First of all, again, your benefits are rich, so you shouldn't owe anything, but it'll show you each claim, how much the claim was, how much the doctor has to write off, and what you owe, which should be 0. It'll also show all your prescriptions that were filled in that time frame. So again, if you're going to a new doctor, you can just take a few months of your smart summaries and you can actually have in writing exactly the type of treatment that you've had over the last few months. So it's just a great resource. Yes.
I live in Western New York, and I don't know if it's here, but all my doctors up there are connected electronically.
It is much more common now for doctors to have medical records on the system, and a lot of times they'll already know what prescriptions you're on. But I still do run into situations where somebody, they just want to have in their hand what prescriptions they're on and those types of things to take with them. But you're right, a lot of times it's electronic now. So. And then this is the number to call Humana. It's, again, in your packet, so it'll be on your ID card. Anytime you have a question, or if a doctor is telling you they don't take the plan, this is how you reach out, or through Ed, and then we can make sure that's taken care of. So there actually, there will be a support person, a specific person that will, they'll be able to reach out to. So if a doctor needs to be called, that specific person or your group will be making some of those phone calls to help you out in this initial transition period. So now I'm going to open up for questions again. If you have,
I just want to throw in too that as we went through the vetting process with Ed's office, and again, most of you have the Hartford plan. You don't get calls from the Hartford to see how your visit went at the doctor's if you were there for more than 10 days to get the kind of support they offer. So what we've seen, other than the side-by-side, when you look at it, the benefits are the same or better from what we're seeing. It's just a more proactive approach to healthcare management. They're calling you to make sure that you're getting the best care possible because it's in their interest as well as ours and yours to do that. So I just wanted to throw that out. That was really the biggest eye-opener that I saw walking through these two, the current that we have, the supplemental plan versus what an advantage plan is. So thank you.
And the only other thing I want to add is I've been in this business a long time, and I told you I've been in this role 8 years. The thing I love about this job is definitely my favorite job I've had in this business, in this industry this whole time. And the reason is our customer service is amazing. So typically, like you asked, why would I change in 6 months? I think the initial month or so, like you might hear a doctor say, oh, I don't take the plan or something like that, that usually is almost always is false. Might scare you, but give it time. I mean, people, once they're on this type of plan, they love it, and they really do like our customer. We just got an award, #1 for customer service. So, what were we saying?
Newsweek.
Yeah, Newsweek actually named us #1 in customer service for health insurance plans. So, I think you'll really like it once you're in it, and I really don't think you'll have people switching off. But I think that's there, so you know that you're not tied into something, because I know it is definitely scary to change. And most of what I do is I'm taking plans from, these types of plans. But I also want to let you know I have a number of groups that I've had the whole 8 years I've been here, and that have been with us for years before that. So we have a lot of very long-term customers on our book of business. Yes.
I have some issues that I need to be treated with a specialist. She's an MD, but she doesn't participate in Medicare.
Okay.
And so right now, I have to pay up front, but I can submit the office visit to CMA.
Okay.
Who would I submit to for reimburse? And they reimburse me directly what Medicare would have allowed. Obviously, it's not all of it. So how would I handle that?
Jessica.
So her question was, I see a provider that does not accept Medicare. Well, who do I submit a claim to for reimbursement in that situation? In that situation, it's going to work similar to what you're doing now. You're going to submit the claim to Humana, and we'll reimburse you the Medicare allowed amounts.
Okay, so I would just submit it to Humana instead of CMA.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And that's a situation where they're not accepting Medicare, and that would also be true if it's a doctor that just wouldn't bill us. That hardly ever happens, but if you were somewhere in the country and they didn't want to submit it, you can pay up front, and on the people that accept Medicare, they can't balance bill. In your situation, we're going to, reimburse to the Medicare allowable, and I don't know your situation if they're balance billing, but they could. But there's only about 4% of providers in the United States that don't accept Medicare. So that's a very, unfortunately, rare situation. Yes.
If you had a long-term health care, and unfortunately it kicks in, and you have to go into a nursing home, do you supplement that long-term health care?
Okay, so his question is about long-term care programs. So long-term care programs are really meant to pay for extended stays that where you are living now in a skilled nursing facility. These plans cover what is medically necessary, so they're very different than long-term care.
Yes.
So the only time if you're in the hospital and you need to go skilled nursing, that would be covered under the plan. So you have a medical reason that you can't go home. So for that rehabilitation, that would be covered. But if you're just being for the rest of your life, you need to be in skilled nursing, that's a separate type of thing. So it is not going to really work with the long-term care plan, just like your plan now wouldn't. Yes.
When we went into Hartford, we were automatically enrolled. Why are we not, if we go to Humana, why are we not automatically enrolled?
So her question is, when you went to Hartford, you automatically were rolled into Hartford. Why is that not the case? And that's just because we're not forcing it.
It's an option.
So, because it's an option. So you're choosing, if you want to take Humana, we ask that you fill out the application, but we're not automatically enrolling everybody into our plan. So that's the difference.
And if you want to enroll, they're here to help you, fill out paperwork. And if you think about it in a month or two you want to do it, they're still available to help you with the paperwork side.
Are you automatically unenrolled in Hartford when you enrolled here?
Yes.
So are you automatically unenrolled from the Hartford plan if you decide to roll in Humana? Is the question.
Medicare does not allow you to be in 2 plans at the same time, so they will.
So we're going to take anybody that rolls in the Humana program. We'll work with Jeff and Connie to create a census, and then we'll send that information to Hartford to disenroll those people off the Hartford, and at the same time, Humana list, and then we'll be giving that same list to Ryan at ProFlex to make sure the people that take Humana are also enrolled in the HRA program. So we'll use that census data that we create for people that are going to enroll.
Yes.
Under your prescription plan, under the typical Advantage plans, there's a maximum that you pay for, and then it reaches the donut hole.
Okay, very good question. I meant to hit that and I forgot it when we were on it. So very good question. So she's asking about, have all of you heard of the donut hole? So this plan you don't have to worry about the donut hole. So when you get to the amount of prescriptions that you pay out that would normally get you in the donut hole, you continue to pay the same co-payments. And then even better is your plan, if you end up in the catastrophic phase, which is after $5,100 in claims, normally in that case you can pay up to 5% of any of those prescriptions, but this plan has a $25 limit even in the catastrophic phase. So again, I can't say this enough. This is richer than any plan I have out there.
Remember, as you're looking at stuff that you might receive in the mail or you hear on TV, this is a group policy that we're avoiding a lot of the stuff that the individual policies that you may buy off the street that you'd have to apply to your plan. So that's a big difference.
Yeah, this is a very, very good plan. So there's a lot of protections to keep you protected from all those extra out-of-pockets. Yes.
On the Hartford plan, we pay X number of dollars a month. Would that be the same if you go to the Humana?
So the question is, contractually, whenever you're retired, you had a contracted benefit what you pay. So nothing changes. If you're paying a flat dollar, that stays the same. If you're paying a percentage, which I don't think there's a lot in here that are, if you're paying a percentage, you'd be paying a percentage of a smaller premium now for the same or better benefit. So I think most of you are probably a flat dollar. Is there anybody paying a percentage? I don't want to assume. So your percentage, if you switch over, right now I think the Hartford runs around $500 a month, so you're looking at $6,000 a year that you pay a percentage on. This is about half of that. So you'd be paying a percentage on $3,000 versus $6,000. So our whole concept for you paying that flat dollar was, if you're paying the flat dollar and we're just switching plans, it might have a little bit better benefit, but there's no real benefit to you because you're not paying a percentage of a lower amount. That was our concept from the district side of saying, let's see if people want to come over and try this by offering the $500 HRA card, which Ryan will talk about a little bit. But your current flat dollar stays the same.
Do you want me to allow Ryan to talk now, and then I can jump back in for questions? So we can hear about that.
Do you guys want to?
Yeah. I mean, I'll open it back up.
Right.
And
Okay. So let's go through the HRA, and then we can open up questions for everything, and just make sure we get all this stuff
I just
answered.
want to say, what happens gets fewer in that group that don't, because we're contractually.
So if you're in a group that pays nothing, you're not paying anything. Hartford, you're not paying anything in Humana. But you'd still, in this scenario, so people like you, we said, well, wait a minute, there's no reason for you to want to switch. We want people to try this because we think it's the same or better than what you currently have at a much lesser cost to the district. That's the concept of the $500 HRA card.
So, do I pay anything at all?
So are you paying something right now?
No.
Right, so you wouldn't be paying to have Humana, you wouldn't be paying anything. But you would get a $500 HRA card.
Okay. What about if, like the drugs, I don't really get sometimes I get $10.
So in the Hartford plan, the co-pays on the prescription side for Hartford and Humana are the same. So nothing changed. That benefit's the same whether you're in the Hartford or in Humana. Yep. So the question is the Humana mail order? Do you still have the same options within the prescription plan, Humana versus Hartford? So I'll turn that over real quick before we go to Ryan.
Yeah, so you can go mail or retail, it's the same copays. There's no penalty.
Okay. Talking about doctors that are in the network and out of the network, what's the difference?
Doesn't matter. Your benefits are the same. It's just, it's a PPO plan, but we've made it so your benefits are the same whether you see a doctor or not in the network. So really for you.
Typically when they file PPOs, there are different benefits for out-of-network versus in-network, but being that Humana, it's called actually a passive network, which really means it doesn't matter whether you go in-network or out-of-network, it's the same benefit. So it doesn't really matter. That's a good question. Yeah.
I'm going to answer, I'll forget it. I don't accept the Hartford plan for some reason. And now you give me new information, something about group and street nurses, and you straighten it out with Hartford. So I've been coasting along for 3, 4, 5 years not knowing. Is Humana, is my dentist going to accept Humana now?
So
or if I stay with Hartford, can I get them to accept?
The question is, his dentist doesn't take the Hartford plan, and it's not a covered benefit anyway. We don't cover dental for retirees under Hartford or Humana. It's not part of the contract.
Oh, I think something's getting better for dental than I.
Well, I think the confusion is that under the HRA that Ryan's going to talk about, you can use the $500 towards vision expenses or dental expenses that aren't covered. So that doesn't mean that there's a dental plan in place, but Ryan's going to talk about any qualified expense that you could use that HRA for. So in your case, sir, where dental is not covered for retirees, you could use dental expenses towards the $500 HRA.
Humana would do better on that than Hartford.
Because of
because
not,
of the HRA.
not the Humana plan itself, but because the district offering the $500 health reimbursement card.
Right.
You can take that $500, and that's what Ryan's going to talk about, and use it for dental, vision, anything that's not covered by any of your current medical plans that you have.
Again, with either Hartford or Humana.
No,
just with Humana.
Yep.
It's almost like the district's going to give you a $500 gift card to use for expenses that aren't covered, during the course of that year. So, yes, ma'am.
For the family, when you have a family, for each person or
Yep.
just for
So right now there's no family plans on the Hartford side. When we get billed, it's single. So if you and your spouse have the Hartford, you have 2 single plans. So that's how it's set up. There's no family plans on the Medicare side. So if you enroll and say your husband and your spouse or wife, you both will get the $500 HRA card. So it's $1,000 for 2, $500 for 1 person.
So let's get into the HRA, because I know we're starting to get into questions. So let Ryan go through his HRA presentation, and then we'll go into questions for both Humana and the HRA, and then we'll make sure everybody's questions get answered. Go ahead, Ryan.
Very well. Thank you, everyone. My name is Ryan Burkhardt. I'm from ProFlex Administrators, and we've been brought in for those folks that are going to be enrolling in the Humana plan. You've heard it mentioned you're going to get what is called a health reimbursement account. And with that account, there's going to be a card that comes along with it that's going to have a MasterCard logo. And I'll talk a little bit about what that is, okay? So the HRA itself is basically an IRS-covered account. It's going to be completely funded by the school district up to $500 on an annual basis. So through the course of a year, you may have $300 worth of out-of-pocket medical or dental expenses through the course of the year, and then the district is going to re-up that amount that you use back up to the $500. So this is going to be an annual contribution, okay? It's not going to roll over, so I do want to make that clear. Basically what it covers, does everybody have one of the 2 sheets that I passed out? There's, you don't have?
Would you please speak up a little bit louder?
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. Oh, sure thing. Yeah, there's one more. Yeah. If you pull that out, so if you see it at the top, it says your eligible and ineligible expenses. We did our best. Now, there are umpteen thousand types of services and charges that you may incur that the IRS has deemed as eligible expenses, okay? But what we've tried to do is give you a snapshot here of what might result in out-of-pocket expenses, and it may be outside the Humana plan. It may be a dental expense, or it may be a vision expense. So we've tried to give this, kind of a high-level overview of the types of things that you may be able to use these funds on, okay? If everybody has a pen, if you want to write this down, if you go on Google and you type in section 213, that's section 213D as in David, IRS, all of the medical expenses that are eligible. So if you have an expense that comes up that you're not sure of, you can go out on Google and you can search that up, and you can actually pull up the IRS publication to show whether or not it's valid or not. I'm sorry?
Repeat it, please.
Sure. It's, if you go on Google, it's section 213, D as in David, and then type in IRS. Okay? I think it's around page 13 or 14 of that publication because it is a rather lengthy document. But if you look at the table of contents, it'll identify it as eligible expenses. I also think it does a very nice job of showing you what's not eligible. And so again, if you have some questions related to what you can use those funds on, that's a great resource for you, okay? Is there a question? Now, from an enrollment perspective, we do not require an enrollment. We don't require you to do anything in order to get the HRA card. If you enroll in Humana, you are automatically going to be enrolled in the HRA card and the HRA account, okay? We're going to use the Humana medical forms, or we're going to use the paper enrollments that come in via the various places that you can turn those in. Upon receipt, now I need you to be real clear on this. Upon receipt of that enrollment form in our office, it will be somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 3 weeks, and you're going to get a blue card. You're going to get 2 of them in the mail. Please don't throw them out. There is an envelope that says, please do not throw away, right across the front of the envelope, because clearly it's happened before. Do not think it's a credit card offer. It's going to have the ProFlex logo on the blue card with the MasterCard logo, and there will be 2 cards in that envelope. One for you, and perhaps one for your spouse. If you're if you're single, then you can just keep the other card as an extra. Okay? So those cards will come within a 2 to 3 week period. For those people that are enrolling in this on January 1st, what I would say is that this is the busiest time of production for cards across the entire country. So it may be closer to a 3 or 4 week turnaround. So don't get nervous. The cards are in the mail. Okay? If you would choose to enroll in this plan February 1st or March 1st, you can expect closer to a 2 week to 3 week lead time on that, because it slows down a bit for production after that. Yes, sir.
You say this plan, we enroll in the Humana plan, everything everybody's talking about today gets covered, right?
So if you enroll in the Humana plan, yeah, everything that
gets covered.
Yep, and then you auto enroll in the HRA, and you'll get that 500 contribution from the district.
So I have 2 enrollments.
So you don't have to. You'll enroll with Humana, and based off that enrollment, we're sending the cards out to everyone. So you don't have to do a separate enrollment.
Just do one thing, because I'm hearing people say enroll in this.
Yeah, just enroll in one.
One.
And we'll auto enroll you into this program. You don't have to fill anything additional out. So.
Right. So we have I heard the reference to the service level. We're a heavy, high touch service organization. On the second form, which shows the website and mobile app, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, you'll see our call-in numbers. There's a local number. I heard of Western New York. You'll be familiar with the 716 area code. There's also a toll-free listed there as well. My staff is more than willing to help with any questions. This is new, so you may have some questions. And we answer every inbound call with a live representative. That's more of a pet peeve of mine since inception. I don't like going through 8 prompts to get to finally a live body for a 30-second question and answer exchange. And I see it bobbing your head up and down north and south, so that's good. So don't hesitate to call my office. They're very, very helpful once you do choose to enroll in the plan.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
I understand this correctly. If you stay with Hartford, you will not get this?
That is exactly right.
And why?
We're, again, going back to the concept of we're trying to get people to try this. So already everybody in this room's on the Hartford plan. So to incentivize people to try this, to show us that it truly works, like they're telling us and telling you, we want to make sure it truly works, to get people to switch to Humana, there's significant savings between the cost of the Hartford, which is about $6,000 a year, and the Humana plan is about $3,000 a year. So we're taking some of that savings and giving it back to you to try it. So if you stay with the Hartford, that's your option. There's no HRA card tied to it. If you make the switch to Humana, there's an auto enroll. You'll get the $500 HRA, or $2,500 if you're husband and wife. Yeah.
The cards that you're getting, $500 a month.
500 a year.
500 a year. Anyway, you have to pay that on your taxes as income.
Is that a taxable transaction? $500?
Absolutely not.
No, it's not.
Nope.
What, for some people who are not 65 but will be,
yep.
What are they going to be on this new plan, or are they gonna have?
No, you still have the same options.
Still gonna have the same.
So, yep, so that's one of the things as people turn 65 and obviously you'll get the letters at your house, but that's just one of the things we'll have to walk through. How do we get the information out to the people becoming Medicare eligible to see the Hartford option and the Humana option? So that we haven't gotten to that part yet. They're just looking at the current. And then another question too, regardless of when you enroll, we're looking at the HRA as a January to December 31st enrollment period. So if you enroll in February or you enroll in March, we're not, for this first year, we're not going to prorate that. So you're going to get the full $500 this year, whether it's January, February, or March to use, type of thing. So we don't want to get into splitting hairs of, well, we want you to try this. To me, it looks as good or better. So if you take a month and say, well, I'm not going to enroll to February 1st, you'll still get the $500 HRA card good through the end of this, or through the end of next fiscal year.
I have an HRA card. How do I use it?
I was just getting to that. I saw another question back there.
Is this HRA card going to be year after year after year, or is there a chance that after 5 years that'll go away because you're happy with how many people?
So I'll give you an example. If you enroll January 1st and you use $400 of the $500 and you have a $100 balance, the district is going to re-up that $400, so you have a $500 balance then moving into the next plan
Your
year.
question though is, so right now we can pull that anytime we want. But in good faith, that's not our intent. We want people to try this. If we get to that point where this is a great plan and we think it's good or better than the Hartford in 3 years down the road, we look to move people, we would have to negotiate that through. But like I said, for us, it's significant savings. We're trying to give some of it back to you. So I don't think there would be any, I don't want to have bad faith to say, no, we'll get you, we'll hook you in for a year. Because you can always say, if we pull it away, you can always go back to the Hartford. That's still an option to you. But our good faith is, here's the $500 as part of the savings. We want you to try it. In year 2, it re-ups. Again, if you've only spent $400, you get $400 gets replenished onto that HRA card. You're starting January 1st of 2020 with another $500 on yours and your spouse if they're in the plan as well.
So you also said something a little bit different than what I heard earlier. You don't have to make a decision within 6 months. Say after we're on Humana for a year, we decide we don't want to stay there, we can still go back to the Hartford after the 6-month period?
Yeah, or again, if there's issues, so if you call up and say, hey, we're not happy, we want to know why. So that's all we would ask. If you try it and you're not, there's something else, and you went through the call center process with Ed, you've gone through the Humana side, and it's just, for whatever reason, it's not fixable, then you still have that option to say, I want to go back to that Hartford side. So again, we're trying to be as flexible as we can to give people that option. I don't want people to think they're getting stuck with something that they may or may not like, type of thing. So I don't know if that answered your question.
There's no time limit on when you can,
We have open enrollment in the district. We don't have it. It's not set that you can only enroll on January 1st.
I'm talking about
Going
decided
back,
if you decided to go back to Hartford after having enrolled.
So we can open enroll in the first of every month of both.
But you have to be on a Humana plan for 6 months. So once you put on the plan for Humana for 6 months, then if you decide to change your mind, you can come back whenever.
But it would be the first of the month.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I misunderstood.
Yes.
I thought
Okay.
there was someone say that you guys have to get back in a month. You don't want that.
No. So.
Okay.
Nikki.
Okay, I have a car accident and I went home.
Again?
Yeah, no.
No, now you're an insurance person on that. Oh, sorry.
Okay, so I have a car accident and I enrolled today with Humana.
Okay.
Okay, who pays for that? The problems, who does that? Is it Humana now or is it gonna be Hartford? I go out of here and have a car accident and I've signed up, what happens?
Well, your car insurance, again, could be your car insurance or the person.
Could be no fault.
I'm going to assume somebody hit you because I know what a great driver you are, Nikki. But you're saying there's uncovered medical costs that you incurred today. So I guess like a pre-existing condition question?
No, let's just say I have to have a knee replacement from the car accident, okay?
Yeah, but it happens
So now
today.
I go out of here today, I'm now enrolled in Humana, who's covering me?
We would start covering you January 1st.
It would
So
still be
that's-
Hartford.
take
Hartford
care of that?
today, January 1st, if there's repercussions or follow-up, or
Okay,
is
so
that
it's
what
not
you're
gonna
saying?
be a pre-existing problem where I had the
No.
accident, my knee was damaged, now.
Well, your accident sounds like pre-existing, because
But that's a good question, though.
Yeah,
I
she
mean,
is.
they, and we didn't have these up, we have them up here, they frequently asked questions, and we do not have to worry about a pre-existing condition. So if you have something that's pre-existing, and you go to Humana, you're all set, you don't have to worry about that at all. But to answer your question again, if you've got an accident today, and you send it for Humana today, Hartford's gonna cover the claims until January 1st. And then from that point on, there's no pre-X to worry about, and then it'll go to Humana.
And just so people know, we're gonna let Nikki leave first from the meeting. 5 minutes, and then she's good.
No, she should leave last. So the parking lot's empty.
Yeah, we'll let the students get out of here too. There won't be a, yeah, Dennis.
Jeff, you said you could save $3,000 a person if somebody switches over to Humana.
That's the premium cost difference between the Hartford and
Okay,
Humana
that-
is about $3,000 a person.
That's a substantial amount of money, and
Yep.
a lot of people do it. If after you collect enough positive data, would you consider just rolling us all over into Humana?
Again, we don't have a huge plan, but if it's the same or better, and after a year of 10% of the current Hartfords try this out, and we're not seeing any issues, that's something we would probably look at.
I mean, if everybody in this room understood they could save the school district $1 million by doing that.
So again, our take on looking through the contracts and everybody retired, we have to offer the same or better benefits to what you're currently offering. So again, I don't want to be mean to Humana because they're here. There are companies, they're a sales group. So they come in and tell us, here's what we cover. And we say, wow, that looks great. The nice thing about this option versus when we had the Hartford and we did the side-by-side and we had these meetings, we rolled everybody, we just did it.
Right.
And there weren't issues. This is a chance for us as a district to say what everything they're saying today and what everything that they put up there is 100% true. On paper, it's as good or better. Then at least it gives us an option in terms of potential cost savings. So like I said, we're using this option as a way to gather data, really, to say, yep, what they told us, we're hearing, this is the feedback we're getting. And I would say, when I talk to people after the Hartford switch 3-4 a year into it, they were thrilled. They're like, this is everything you said was, and Ed said that everything was as good or better. So
my follow-up question is, would the savings be the same in 12 months as they would be now if you did it?
if I couldn't hear Dennis,
Would the savings be in 1 year the same then as they would be now if you just did it now?
I would say yes.
Yeah.
So if we waited a year, we could still save a potential $1 million.
I believe so, yes.
I'll say, my main concern is prescription drug coverage. And if I look at the side-by-side comparison of Hartford versus Humana, there's a couple of areas where Hartford covers and Humana apparently doesn't. Could you explain?
So what areas are you looking at? Just so I
I'm
can-
looking at prescription drug benefits. I'm looking at specialty drugs. If you look at specialty drugs,
Okay, so it's saying not available? So he's looking at your side-by-side and it says under mail order, it says not available. You can get a 30-day supply by mail, but by law, we can't send out 90 days of a specialty medicine. So you still could get it, but we typically, if you're doing a 90-day, you can do it at retail. But that's just because we can't, those drugs are very expensive, so we typically don't dispense 90 days at a time.
Ray, I think it's mislabeled. If you look at it, it says in and out of network. That should really say retail.
Yeah, those columns are misleading, so the left column is retail, the right column is mail, is really what that should say.
But what we should talk about, though, regarding prescription, the one difference that I did find when I did the analysis was, under the Hartford plan, we do not have prior authorization, we do not have step therapy. And under the Humana plan, we will have prior authorization and step therapy. So what I want to ask Randy to do is just explain a little bit the differences. How does step therapy apply to folks, and how does prior authorization apply to folks? prior authorization really is just a physician giving a prior authorization, through the company. All is kind of done behind the scenes, not really any kind of a big deal. Step therapy is a little bit of a process. You want to talk about step therapy, Rain?
So basically, step therapy for prescriptions is you might be on a certain prescription, and we will say, "Have you tried this one?" And maybe you have. So we're typically, and even in that case, going to deal with your doctor and see what their trial to get you on that particular, if it's a brand versus a generic. If your doctor has reasons, they can let us know, and then that can be changed. But there is a process to be on, trying different drugs first that we might see. There's actually some drugs that are harmful in certain situations, so we're going to ask some questions with particular drugs.
So Ray, just a question on that. So if he's already on a specialty drug and he signs up for Humana for January 1st, is he required now for the drug he's on to do the process, or
Yes,
or
there is still a
grandfathered?
process. Now, you can on any prescription get a 30-day supply, so we will allow one script to be filled so that that process can take place. So it will give you time to work with that doctor. I don't hear a lot of problems with that, but again, it's a way for us to.
It's not really a big issue. It's a difference. So back to the gentleman's question to the left that said, well, why would anybody want to leave Humana? Well, if somebody doesn't want to go through a process of step therapy and they're upset about it, that could be potentially one reason. But there wasn't a lot of differences when we looked at the plans, but I want to just make sure that we're just, in full disclosure of everything we're talking about here. Prior authorization and step therapy on the prescriptions is a difference. Not a big issue to us, but it's a difference.
So I'm understanding that you could get a 30-day supply with the specialty
And then it'll
drug
go through
with
the
just
process.
the $25 copay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And that still can be mailed?
Just to clear that up, when you all say, just to make sure it's understood, specialty drugs, not all specialty drugs require step therapy.
Right.
So you say specialty drug, we're talking about step therapy. There's a lot of different drugs, and you'll get the formulary that you have listed in there. If it says ST next to it, that's our step therapy. So signal you that might require step therapy. So that's something that you could look at that you might need.
And where is that?
In your packet.
In the packet.
But that again is a short list in your packet of the drugs. So if you want a full list, you have to go online or call us if you have a particular drug. Is there anything else on that list?
Yes, what are non-Part D drugs?
So non-Part D drugs are what's not covered by Medicare. We actually added quite a bit of drugs to your plan. So again, not the normal plan out there, but we've added vitamins. I don't want to read these wrong, so let me get it out so I make sure I have them.
Did we add all the Part D drugs in here, or most of them?
I believe we did all of them, but I think that's a typo. Those are covered, Part D drugs.
Yes, the part, this might have been, we did like 5 different versions of this analysis, and we kept updating it, but we did go back to Humana and say, Part D drugs are not covered, Part D drugs are kind of over-the-counter type stuff, and then Humana came back to us and said, we will cover Part D drugs. So I believe they're all covered now, right?
We added cosmetics, cough and cold medicines, fertility drugs, vitamins, weight loss agents, and erectile dysfunction drugs. All those typically are not covered, so those were added into your plan. So again, you don't have the normal plan that's out there, even with other groups. You have a lot of benefits added. You want to go back to that? How do you split it up?
How do you guys want to do it?
Ma'am,
Yes.
first of all, I just want to compliment you. All of you are just so well informed, and you've expressed it in a way that it's really believable. The thing that I have a hard time understanding, and I'm probably missing something here, is that you, Rain, and you, Ed, I thought you were on opposite poles here, that Ed was with the plan we now have, and you with Humana. Ed seems to be a very good proponent of the Humana program.
Well, I'm the consultant for the district. So what I do, my job is to constantly look for the best plans and the best prices. So I'm out there doing what I call an RFP, a request for proposals or an analysis. So my job to the district is to meet with Jeff and say, listen, here's what we're seeing out there in the marketplace. I work with 130 school districts throughout the state. That's what we specialize in. And so my job is to bring the best deal we possibly can. Hartford was an amazing deal for us when we did Hartford in 2011. And then all of a sudden now, the Medicare Advantage plans, to be honest with you, up until the last couple of years, really couldn't match the benefits. They always were competitively priced-wise. They were always less expensive. I used to say to people, you know, it's funny because Medicare Advantage is not really an advantage. I used to say that. But now what's happened is these Medicare Advantage plans have all come up with these passive networks and these 100% plans. So they're now matching the Medicare supplemental policies. So my job is to bring the best plans to Jeff. So we went out and looked at all these different carriers, Excelis, Humana, Aetna, and then we decided based on the design of the program and the rates and the flexibility here that this was the best option. So me, I'm a proponent. I work for you. I don't work for Humana. I don't work for Hartford. I work for the district.
So actually, this whole process came about when we were doing the Hartford renewal process. Is that the Advantage information came out, we saw significant savings. You know, I talked to Ed and said, all right, we have the Hartford number for renewal. What's the advantage? What is this Advantage plan? You know, and I have done, you know, my due diligence. I'm not a health insurance expert. I think I know enough to be dangerous at times. But we sat with Ed and said, well, let's really look at this now. There's, like Ed said, there was great savings. But from my perspective, I said, well, in order to get savings, to me, you got to cut benefits. What's going on here? So that was that vetting process that we walked through the side-by-side to say, where are the savings come from? So really, to me, two parts of the big savings come from. One, the federal government has gone to Humana, to Aetna, and some of these places that we don't want to be hiring our own federal employees to run Medicare. So they're subsidizing companies to run the Medicare side of it. So they're removing their costs on the employee side federally and turning it over to them with subsidies. So that's where part of the savings came from. And I think the other part of it we talked about was they're not, the Hartford, you know, I'm not going to say anything mean, but if you go to the hospital for 14 straight days, the Hartford doesn't care. They just take your claim, they process it, and that's the end of the day. This company, through the Medicare Advantage side, and I'm sure Aetna, and I can't speak for it, but I'm sure they all do it similar, they're looking at the holistic side to say, we don't want you to go back into the hospital. You've been there for 14 days. How do we make sure you don't go back in? And it's picking up the phone and getting calls from nurses, doctors, caseworkers, sending the meals to the house or wherever you're going to out of the hospital. Just the stuff like that, that really, when you start looking at it, to me, I felt better because I was like, we just can't cut benefits. So when we saw a lot of savings, we had to, employ Ed as a consultant to say, drill down into these and why are these savings here and what's on the other side, there's savings, but is it coming at a cost of reduced benefits? So that was really what we started with Ed, and then we sat down with meetings with Aetna, Humana, we looked at the Excelis side to really weigh it out and say, where are we?
So Ed, again, thanks for telling us 6 years or whatever it was years ago about this program, because everyone that I've spoken to seems to be really positive about it.
Happy, yes.
But you're being paid by the district. So the question is, what do you see negative about this Humana plan that we may not right now have experienced with Hartford?
We've, as Jeff said, we've been diving into this all summer long, and I can't, if I want to nitpick, I mean, I would talk about step therapy and prior authorization, which are really not that big a deal. We went through a whole list of stuff, and every time I thought I found something, Humana came back and said, no, this is the way this is done. One of the things I said, well, Hartford's got unlimited pharmacies. They've got, how many thousands of pharmacies, and Humana's limited. Well, they've got how many pharmacies? 65,000. They got 65,000, and that's limited, versus Hartford had maybe 70,000. So I couldn't find anything. We were trying to nitpick it just because we were meeting with, the bargaining units and people like Joe and Kate to say, okay, let's hammer this. Let's come up with as many questions as we possibly can. Let's, turn this thing upside down. Let's find out all the things that are wrong with this to not do it, right? And we just couldn't find it. I mean, with the new benefit programs that these Medicare Advantage plans are, with these passive networks and these zero copays, 100% plans, and they're matching the prescription drugs, it's a good benefit. And I would, as I stood here in 2011, say, listen, you're going to love this program. I think people that choose the Humana program are going to like it. I think it's very easy. I think Humana, as Jeff's real big thing was, on Hartford, Medicare doesn't really do a good job of managing claims. That's why Hartford does it, because Hartford comes in after Medicare. whereas Humana replaces Medicare. Humana does a much better job from a case management, and so I think that you're going to feel you're getting more personal attention from Humana. And I can't, if I had $1 for every time somebody asked me about the Silver Sneakers program, right, I wouldn't have to work anymore. I mean, people love that program. The Medicare supplemental programs don't have it. The Medicare Advantage plans do. And even though it might seem like, no, not a lot, but the retirees that have that program love it. So I truly believe that I think people that choose to go to Humana will love the program. I really do. Yes?
You said that you work with 130 schools. Out of those schools, can you give us a sort of an estimate of how many have eventually gone to Humana and stayed with them?
That's a good question. This is the first time. This is the first time that we've had a district go from a Medicare Sup to Medicare Advantage. Johnson City done it 3 years ago. They went right to a Medicare Advantage. But keep in mind, the Medicare Advantage changes that they've made on these benefit plans only happened for us in the last couple of years. So Medicare Advantage plans could not really compete from a benefit standpoint because, as Jeff said, we have to have benefits that are going to be as good or better than we have here in place. Okay, so I always had to make that distinction when I talk to schools and say, here's a Medicare supplemental policy, and it's going to match your in-force benefits, no problem. Here's a Medicare Advantage plan, it's less expensive, however, it can't touch the benefits that you have. Well, now that's all changed. So in one part of your question, this is the first time one of my schools are doing this, right? We have other schools that have done it, okay? And I do see other schools going in this direction. Why would a district not go in this direction when they can get a program like Humana's to match the benefits, right? To give them 100% coverage, match the prescription drug coverage, and be less expensive. So I see a lot of my school districts, they're going to say, hey, I mean, I heard what you did in Maine-Endwell. We want to look at the same thing. So I think there'll be more going down that road in the next couple of years. Yes, sir.
If I predeceased my wife, can she still buy into the Humana plan?
Yeah, we've allowed in all the contracts, even if it's written or not written in there, the retiree was the employee, the spouse is surviving, they can always come back in at 100% at that point in time to get this. So again, from that perspective, this is half the cost of right now. If that happened today, it was the Hartford, it would be $6,000 a year. Your spouse now would pay $3,000 a year for the same benefits. So I think that's another advantage.
And a lot of schools don't allow that. I mean, not a lot of predeceased your spouse. Yes, sir.
I just have one question about that step therapy business. With Hartford, they paid for my prescriptions, this one particular one, for 2 years, no problem. Then by the 3rd year, I got letters that said they would no longer cover it. They want me to try this instead, a different one instead. I could have my doctor write a letter to them and say, no, this is what
Medically necessary.
medically necessary. He did that twice.
Right.
They won't cover it still.
The Hartford plan does not have step therapy. However, Medicare will change the rules from time to time on the drugs, as I think Ray was alluding to. They're very, very particular about the type of drugs that get prescribed to retirees. So they monitor that a lot. So I don't know your situation specifically, but it could have been something changed with a formulary. It could have been something that was a prescription again.
I'm just wondering if Humana, I'm going to have the same experience, because I really, it kind of pisses me off. The insurance company.
Does everyone heard that piss Linda off?
The insurance company can tell me, no, you shouldn't take what your doctor's prescribing, you should try this instead.
Well, here's the thing is, you have to remember, with Hartford, they're following what Medicare says. It's not that Hartford is making that call, it's Medicare. So Medicare is dictating that. Here,
And you can come see us and we can try to look at that drug and see if we can find anything out while you're here, or call you back. So definitely a specific drug. Okay. We can meet with you afterwards.
yes, sir.
As I listen to the conversation, it seems to me that Humana is taking over Medicare.
Correct. Yes.
We are a Medicare plan and we're just
So
administering it
you're
for
not
Medicare.
associated with the government administrating anything. So
They have to follow the rules of it.
Let me finish. We're kind of moving over from a Medicare government-run group to a private group.
We are a Medicare plan though. The government is paying us just to administer your Medicare. So we have to follow all have to cover everything they cover, but we can add additional. So we have to do a lot of their things, like for example, we have to send packets even if you're married and to every person in the room because that's a rule by Medicare. So a lot of everything we're doing is following Medicare. So we are a Medicare plan.
You're not government.
They're not letting Medicare pay claims first and then go after like the current Hartford plan. They are paying the claims from the start.
But you're private, and you're a private company versus a public service, which is Medicare.
Yes.
That's my clarification.
Yes, ma'am.
My understanding that, if you have Humana, you can't have a supplemental insurance. So what happens if, with the Humana, it doesn't cover everything, who pays for what's left over?
So again, we have to cover everything Medicare covers, and that's the same. You're on a Medicare plan now, so we would be covering pretty much what you're having now at no copay out of your pocket. So we are the supplement. So basically, we're the Medicare, we're the regular benefits, and we're the supplement, all wrapped into one.
So are you telling me you're going to pay for the whole thing? There's not going to be anything left over?
You shouldn't have any copays. It should be all zero to your prescriptions. And then if there is expenses, whether it be for medical, dental, vision, you have the HRA.
Now, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the medical problem.
All your medical
or if
expenses?
It's surgery,
Yep.
anything like that.
We're going to cover it at 100%.
I find that hard to do.
That's okay, I understand.
So right now, have you had anything with the Hartford that you had to pay out of pocket?
I haven't had to pay anything out of pocket.
So when you look at the side by side, and this is the same thing we heard when we went from Excellus to Hartford. We're gonna have to count. We've not had issues, other than Linda.
I just had to pay today for $15.13 I had a colonoscopy. And that's what I had to pay with the Hartford and Medicare. I have no idea what $15.13
Shouldn't have to have that.
It's not much I'll pay.
Or you can call the
Right.
call center.
Or Linda, if you call the call center, you can have somebody do a claims research for you and find out, why. If there's a legitimate reason why, you need to understand that. But from what I see, you shouldn't have to pay that.
Right.
So you should call the call center and ask for Dawn Curtis. She's my school district expert, and she can help you.
I will just tell you, I see so many times where people get bills that are these mystery bills. Please don't pay them, because it's really hard to get the money back. Definitely research up front, because you really shouldn't know anything except for prescription.
And as a consultant, I'll tell you, whether it's Humana, Excellus, Hartford, they all make mistakes. They all make mistakes. And the problem is, like Linda said, well, it's $15, it's not a big deal, I'll just pay it, right? Then we don't know about it, and then there's a lot of mistakes that get made. So our job is to handle those claim issues to make sure that people like Linda are taken care of correctly. So I would just recommend that you give us a call, let us look at it and see what's going on. But absolutely, everybody makes mistakes. Don't assume that the carrier's always right, because they're not.
So Humana is being subsidized by the federal government to take this program over. What guarantees are there that the federal government, on a yearly routine basis, is going to pick up a sizable cost for managing essentially Medicare? I mean, I guess that's my question.
That's why they farmed it out. So
I mean, the Medicare Advantage companies like Humana or anybody, they have a 5-star rating, right? So they rate these companies based on their stars, and their subsidies are based on their ratings. But to answer your question, Joe, it's possible that the government says in 3 years, we're not going to subsidize this any longer. So what happens? Well, that just means I got to go back to the drawing board and go out there and do an analysis, find out, okay, we still have the Hartford program, right? That's not going to go away. And if the subsidies went away on the Medicare Advantage plans, what else is out there? So if that ever happened, which would be a worst case scenario, my job would be to meet with Jeff again and say, okay, where do we go from here? We still have the Hartford plan, which was better than the Excellus plan, but what are we doing here? And find out what's available. So
and at the end of the day, we still have to meet the contractual obligations of the contracts. I mean, that's
right.
So
that's right. The district still is on the line to make sure they provide as good or better benefits to the folks, the retirees of the district.
I think the basic answer is what political group are you going to support? Because one political party is not with us.
Yeah, you know, I don't even, I think they're both, right now they're both with us. Right? I mean, I don't.
I was just going to add, when I first started in this job 8 years ago, there was a lot of fear that Medicare Advantage wasn't going to stay around, and now it's the biggest plan out there on individual plans and everything other than regular Medicare. So it's really gone the other way. I don't worry at all that it's going to go away. I mean, yes, could something change with politics or whatever, but I think it's worked so well, and it's in with so many people. I mean, we alone have 8 million Medicare Advantage policies, so I don't worry about that anymore like I did 8 years ago. What direction was it all?
No, you should.
Great question. So her question is, in that booklet it lists counties and it doesn't list all the counties, and that was brought up in one of the like the Q&A questions. It doesn't matter. If they're not listed, it's still covered.
All right, but here there are several states that are not listed, like for example Massachusetts and Wyoming, and also even Cook County in Chicago, which I visit a lot. And you said we're covered all over the country, so you have to go to.
So again,
how does that work then if you get sick in Boston?
Yep.
So the way, again, because we're Medicare, they make us list locally, and we have to list the areas that we have service areas. But we also have waiver areas throughout the entire country, which means we don't, to be a service area, you have to have a certain network. But again, your plan, it doesn't matter if there's a network or not. So in these areas where we don't have a network in Wyoming, and I don't think a lot of people do, it doesn't matter. The doctor's there as long as they accept Medicare. The plan works the same way. So you're not going to see every county and every state listed in the book, but it's covered in all 50 states and Puerto Rico, and you don't have to worry about anything being listed there. I wish they could remove that, but that's one of those places that Medicare requires us to list those, and it makes everybody nervous when they don't see that listing. So I'm really glad you brought that up.
Other question? Yes, sir.
In the package, it says that this plan covers routine private practice, not Medicare. Part of that.
Right. So another great question. I didn't touch on 3 things. Typically, Medicare doesn't cover vision exams, hearing exams or hearing aids, or routine chiropractic. Those are not covered. Those have all been added to your plan. So that is an extra benefit. So chiropractor, we cover more than just the spinal manipulation. I actually had this laying here and then didn't get to go over it. So for hearing, we cover routine hearing, which again normally isn't covered, and a fitting and evaluation for hearing aids, one every 2 years. Routine hearing test, 1 every 3 years, and a $400 benefit allowance towards hearing aids every 3 years. So that is added into your plan. For vision, we cover a routine exam up to 1 per year, and then a $100 benefit allowance. Let me see if there's a time frame on that. Once per year.
Part of the vision test you're taking right there.
Yeah, I know. I need my reading glasses on. You get $100 a year for the towards the lenses and things. So that typically is not covered.
On some of those things, so that's what we sat through with Ed, as we started looking at the side-by-side to say non-Part D stuff, and we've added that to what the benefit structure of this Humana plan is to make sure that it's as good or equal to what you currently have with the Hartford.
How do you claim it? Do we have to
No, it'll work through the system. So we're building it. So when you go to a chiropractor, we'll cover more than just the manipulation. Where before,
but who sends the information to you? I do it, or
the chiropractor would submit it just like
They'll
he
submit,
would
they'll
the
see it in the
regular.
system. When they go into the system, they'll see it.
For the vision and hearing, do they have to?
It's not Medicare.
The hearing. So even in the vision and hearing, they should submit it. Now, this is a place where there might be a question because our teams are not used to that being covered. So if you get a question on it, let us know, and we'll make sure it goes through. So that, because on 99% of our plans, those things are not covered.
But the chiropractor has to know to submit it.
Yeah,
Everything else is submitted to
that's
Medicare.
true.
This isn't.
You probably want to tell your chiropractor we have more than just the Medicare benefits, so submit the whole thing. Because that could be x-rays and different things that they do when you go to the chiropractor. So those are all added benefits.
There's no limits?
Not on the chiropractor. It does have a copayment. only things you pay $10 for that extra bit of benefit. Yes.
I'm a retired JC teacher. We've been on Humana for years.
Okay.
Very happy. But one thing that they suggested to us is at the startup, we got like a form letter to give to your physician.
Yes. So that is this form up here.
We got
it
a lot.
looks a
I got a
little
lot of
fancier now.
I got a lot of pushback. We're not going to see you. We're not going to
Yeah.
cover it. Gave the letter. Show up the next time. Oh, okay. We didn't get this. It's okay. It is fully covered. But just having that letter cut through a lot of the we're not going to see you. We're not going to treat you kind of thing. If you get the letter, give it out.
So I don't know if you all heard what he's saying, but he's on the Johnson City plan that I have, and they use this flyer, and it's to work with the doctors. And if you continue to get pushback, that's when you let us know. But I also think because he's already been out there in the rest of Johnson City telling these doctors, a lot of them will be more familiar. You can even say it's a plan like Johnson City has, because they probably are already seeing patients on this plan.
Right, they've had, what, 3 years, Jeff? So, I mean, so the physicians in the area are already very aware of Johnson City using the plan, so you guys are going to benefit from those doctors already being educated.
We got a tremendous amount of pushback until they found out that it was, what you call it, a street plan?
It's not a street plan. It's not like all the TV commercials right now for open enrollment, which is almost over. They're thinking it's those kind of plans, and those have very small networks and much more out of pocket out of network. So that's why they don't like those plans. But this plan, they get it paid faster and they get 100% paid. So they like that kind of thing. We have one back here.
I'm really anxious to hear about this HRA plan ProFlex Flex card from Ryan, because that's, I think, maybe something, that's $500.
Yeah, and I apologize, I had a lot of great questions, but just to kind of summarize now, if you do incur a claim that is not covered on the Humana plan, we've already talked about that, it's going to be limited in scope. But this goes beyond that. This goes into your dental, and there was a gentleman over here who had a bunch of questions about that, your vision. With that card, that's going to cover 95 to 98% of your transactions. Even if you're balanced bill by your dental provider, if they provide you the spot to put your 16-digit...
Can I listen, please?
So even on those balance bills that maybe you get from your dental provider or your vision provider, if they give you a spot to put the 16 digits, just like you would put if you were using your own credit card with your expiration date, use that. Or if they provide you the opportunity to swipe the card, that's point of sale reimbursement, you don't have to do a thing. The card's already built with a fictitious $500 on the card. So as you use it, that will automatically know first what your balance is, and secondly, it'll automatically pull the funds, and then the banking does kind of occurs behind the scenes with the school district. That is going to cover, again, a vast majority of what claims you're going to incur out of pocket, okay? Now, to go beyond that, we also have, we're a pretty high-tech company. We still take U.S. Post Office, so if you want to mail a claim form in, if you want to scan and email it, if you want to fax it, we still do that. But the game in our industry has changed a little bit, where now we give you an employee portal that you can log in right through our home-based website. If you want to write this email address down, it's ProFlex, P-R-O-F-L-E-X, TPA, thirdpartyadministrator.com. So ProFlex, TPA.com. And that's really the second sheet that that's
right. So people understand. So just because you have the card, that's not the only means you have to get access to your $500. That's a good question, because I hear that one a lot. So you have that ability. If you go to the chiropractor and you have a $10 bill, you can pay right then, or the next time you go, they say, hey, you've got a $10 balance, you can pay with that card. Or you should, I don't know if you get an explanation of benefits on the Humana side. Is there an EOB?
The SMART summary.
You'll get a SMART summary, which is the equivalent of like an Excel explanation of benefits. So if I go to the chiropractor, it says there's a $108 potential charge, I'm responsible for this amount. You can also then go through the mail system, a fax, an email, and get the reimbursement that way. So it's not just $500 on your card, it's $500 to your name, that you've got many options to go through to access it.
And I only reference that the card's going to cover a vast majority of your transactions, but if in fact there's still providers out there that don't take cards, believe it or not, and that's just the reality of that. If that happens, you would pay out of pocket, and then you find one of the ways that you submit the claims to us manually. You can fax it, you can scan and email it, and then the second sheet I gave you is a website login with instructions. Once you go live, if you choose February 1st as the date, on February 1st you can go into the ProFlex TPA website and go into the employee portal. It doesn't say retiree portal, it will say employee portal. And your first login is your first initial, it's listed on there so you don't have to write this down. First initial, last name, and the last 4 of your social. And then ProFlex in lowercase is your password. And then it'll prompt you to make a password of your own. Then what I would also do, if for anybody that has smartphones, that is still using that technology, ProFlex has a mobile application that you can download. The same credentials you use to log into the employee portal through the website are the same ones that you'll use for the mobile app. Now what's pretty slick about that is our technology just had an enhancement recently where now you can walk into a Rite Aid and you can scan, there's a scanner, and you can scan the UPC code and it's going to tell you whether it's eligible or not. So it's kind of a pretty slick thing. We're right down to the item now within the inventory system, so it is becoming very advanced. The other thing that I would say is just as of January 1st, we just contracted with a company called the FSA store. Who's familiar with Amazon here? Everybody? Everybody gets those gray boxes? Sure. Well, now the FSA store is the Amazon of eligible medical expenses. So everything that they carry is eligible for you to utilize the funds. So if you have money that you know you need to buy stuff through the course of the year, you can go through our website and you can click on the link for the FSA store and know that anything in their inventory is covered, and more importantly, you can punch the numbers in on your card to get the items. And then they'll drop ship it just like Amazon does. Okay? So what I would say is just to leave this question. Yes. I'm sorry.
Do we get a statement from the card to let us know how much you spent or how much is left on it?
Well, so we'll have to talk about whether or not we're going to send out statements and how frequently. We do have the real-time claim balance is available both on the employee portal as well as the mobile app. And then in turn, you can also call our office, get a live body when you call in immediately and say, hey, what's my HRA balance? Okay? We encourage people to leverage that. The one thing I would say, folks, is from time to time, if you're manually submitting claims, that's not going to be an issue because you have the ability to use the mobile app, or you can fax it in, or you can mail it in. You're going to send in your summary from Humana. That's kind of the holy grail for claims processing for us. If in fact you swipe the card, there is a possibility, because these are IRS governed accounts, you may get a letter in the mail that says, hey, this is a high dollar dental claim and we have to get a receipt from you to verify that it was an eligible expense. Okay? So if in fact that happens, I encourage everyone, keep your receipts. It may happen one time throughout the year. It may not never happen. Okay? But keep your receipts. If you get a letter, simply fax it off to us and you're going to be fine. Okay? But as part of us being kind of the gatekeeper on these claims, the IRS mandates that what we call substantiate some of the transactions on a sample. We also look for trigger claims, which are typically high dollar dental or high dollar vision claims, to make sure that the service rendered was not was an eligible expense and not ineligible. Okay? But if you have any questions, please contact us, and we're always willing to help. Yes?
Could you please repeat that
website?
ProFlex?
Yep.
Yes. But before, there is in your logo here, you have a dash. Can you put that in?
No dash.
No dash.
No dash. PROFLEX, all one word. PRO.
Put it up here. So.
Oh,
ProFlex TPA?
Yes.
Yep.
Any other questions? Yeah.
I gotta ask a question. Okay. That's a great question, and I don't know if it says zero. It should say zero. I will have to check that. If you want to give me your name and number, I can check it. I just don't know if it says zero copay. I think it probably does, but I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, you're right. If copays are listed on the card, then it will say zero. Not necessarily. Yeah. Everyone's different. They're all right.
So folks, they're going to be here for the rest of the day. So if you've got individual questions, stick around, ask them questions. That'll stay. We've got another presentation for the next group coming in. So come right up and ask away. Feel free. Don't hesitate.